Now, let's shift our focus now to the changes that have been made in April by the government to the information technology rules that empower the centre to identify fake news against it. Now, this is facing scrutiny in the courts. Hearing a bunch of petitions challenging the amendments to the information technology rules, the Bombay High Court has observed that no matter how laudable or high the motives are while framing these rules, if the effect of a rule or law is unconstitutional, then it has to go. This has come as a setback to the centre. In fact, a division bench of the Bombay High Court noted that the centre's affidavit was silent on why an amendment was required as of now. Now, apart from the Editors Guild of India and the Association of Indian Magazines, the petitioners include stand-up comedian Kunal Kamra. In fact, Kamra's lawyer has argued that the amended rule denies safe harbour to social media intermediaries and that it amounts to saying that my way or the highway. In fact, his lawyer also pointed out the centre's affidavit and did not list a concrete example of misinformation against the government as examples to bring in this law. Going further, they also said that the government could simply issue a clarification if there is misinformation against it and there's no need to act on it. Remember, it's a few months ago, 3 months to be precise, since the union government had promulgated certain amendments to the Information Technology Act, and these rules including a provision for a fact-checking unit to flag fake, false or misleading online content related to the government. But this had led to some kind of a controversy, with several questioning on whether the centre or the government should have control over any information. As of now, the government's fact-checking unit is yet to be notified. So what's going to happen next is going to be interesting to see, because as of now, we have the Bombay High Court making these observations. In fact, my colleague Radhika is joining us on the broadcast with the details of what has been said in the Bombay High Court. Radhika, because this is going to be extremely crucial across the country. There had been a lot of discussion around this amendment to the IT rules.
That's right. In fact, the Bombay High Court yesterday was hearing a clutch of petitions challenging the 2023 amendment to IT rules, empowering the central government to identify fake news about itself on social media. Some very important observations were made by the division bench. It observed that if the effect of a rule or a law is unconstitutional, it has to go, no matter how laudable the motive may be. The bench also questioned centre silence on the need for amended rules. These have been challenged by, a stand-up comedian Kunal Kamra and several others. In fact, the bench went on to question whether the mechanism of the Press Information Bureau that has been in existence for long is so inadequate that it requires an amendment to include the FCU. Also, court going on to say if the government is trying to stem technology. In fact, the government is trying to stem technology as no one understands the full reach and extent of power of the technology. In fact, also going on to speak about whether online sites hosting critical comment on statements made on campaign trail in 2024 elections will lose safe harbor if the government's FCU flags the content as false and if hosting site refuses to remove it. So several important observations and questions put forth by the court to the centre while hearing this bunch of petitions. Of course, the matter will be heard once again all of today by the division bench of the Bombay High Court.
Okay, all right. So, Radhika, what's expected today? You mentioned it will be taken up again today. Is the centre expected to respond to it? Because in one of the arguments, it's also being said that the government has not spoken about certain incidents that have taken place, any particular incident that took place, while also saying that the centre, instead of cracking down on this kind of information, can just give a clarification on the misinformation against it.
Well, certainly. Today, of course, the petitions will be heard, and today the arguments will be done by Kunal Kamra's advocate as well as Editors Guild advocate and several other councils of several others who had filed the petition. In fact, as far as centre's reply is concerned, it had already filed its reply, and yesterday, senior advocate Sirva, who was representing Kamra, had claimed that rules were amended by the government to show it is my way or the highway. He said the government is saying that it will ensure that social media covers only what it wants and everything else gets censored. So it wants to take the role of parents or nanny of the public is something that the counsel for Kamra had said, and also saying that the petitioner has failed to understand why the government was underestimating the intellect of citizens by being a nanny state under the garb of shielding public from what is bad and distasteful according to, the state. So therefore, the bench said that no matter how laudable or high the motives are, if the effect of this rule is unconstitutional, then it has to go. So, important observations made by the High Court, even as the hearing will continue and the Petitioners' Council will continue their arguments today as well.
Okay, all right. Radhika, thank you for joining us with those details. Let's shift our focus now to